Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meticulous Talks for November 9th. I am, as always, Cursedchords.
And I'm Hithroc.
How's it feel to be back in Russia, Hithroc?
Cold.
Okay.
Nah, it's about the same as in Milwaukee. The temperature, I mean.
Good. How'd you like your trip?
Yeah, it was very fun. I think my least favorite part of the trip was actually traveling. Like on the planes and layovers, that's all boring.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else has been absolutely amazing. I would do that again.
Are you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. You got cut off just a little bit there, but I think we're
Oh,
fine. We heard all of the important stuff. You would obviously do it again, right?
yeah.
And the plan was that you would do it again sometime next year, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely coming to Everfree. I might be coming to Babs. I'm still iffy on that, but I'm less iffy than I was before.
Okay. Well, that means we'll have a chance to meet at one of them for sure.
That'll be great.
All right. And, well, obviously, Hithroc was in Milwaukee for the Continental Championship, as was I, still in New York, but doing the commentary for it. And it was a great tournament. We had, was it 29 in the end, or 30, or how many people?
I think it was 40. 30. Not
30,
40.
yeah. Which is an amazing turnout for a tournament these days. And we got to play 7 rounds of Swiss, and then top 16, tier 3 rules, so plenty of games in the playoff round. Unfortunately, you were out in the top 16. Well, fortunately, you made the top 16, but you were out in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really expect to get anywhere, so it was really good.
Absolutely. And I suppose that means that we will be getting to your deck at some point as we go through the ones that made the playoffs.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about my deck all day.
Well, you don't maybe want all day, but alrighty. So, speaking of, that's essentially what we're going to get to right away. And then afterwards, I suppose it's worth mentioning. I haven't said it yet. Paige is not here today. He's got work to do, and that's going to be true of him for the rest of the year, unfortunately. So, just going to be me and Hithroc for the next little while. But he did give us his top 5 for the end of the stream when we get to that. And so we'll just have to explain his choices for him, I guess.
He did provide some information.
Mm-hmm. He did. But yeah, that'll be the end of the stream. We each have our set of 5 cards, which satisfy our own criteria of what exactly we wanted to tell people about. And we'll get to that when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, let's get to the decks. And we're going to start right from the bottom. Give me a quick second here. I did not set up the sources properly. So, oops. Okay.
It should be Arakat deck, right?
Yeah.
Arakat deck. Okay.
There we go. Yes. So there isn't too much to say about the decks provided by the sim people because they already spent a whole stream talking about it 2 weeks ago now, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Aura's deck was primarily a sort of a purple pink mid range. I think is basically the best way to say it, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Mm.
More on control-ish side, though.
A little bit more, fair amount of removal here. Bait and switch. The festival assistant spike gives him a fair amount of. Well, it's control and aggro, same thing.
Yeah. A lot of eccentric going on. Well, 6 cards.
Let's see. Yes.
Oh, wait. There's also Sonata, I suppose.
Oh. A second. Who else were you counting then?
Bait and switch and Selena.
Oh, I see. 6 that way. Sure. Yeah. And then there's Silverstream as well, the Bane. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sonata's eccentric. Generally doesn't stick around very long. But still reasonable, yeah. But yeah, like I say, there isn't too much to say here, given that it was discussed already. Alrighty. So the next one on the list was one belonging to Tim S. The single Fluttershy list at the tournament. Well, the single I shouldn't say that, because there were 2 Fluttershy lists that made top 16, but this is the only Nurturing Nature one.
Yeah, that one was Calming one, right?
Yes.
Oh, I've seen that game.
Yeah. That, I mean, we'll get to that list when we get to it. I have many things to say, but this one looks to be pretty close to your very standard mono yellow. Well, there isn't necessarily a standard mono yellow build, but it's got all the things that you would necessarily expect: Gummy, Bunyips, Meadowbrook, plenty of dilemmas, staff, unsatisfactory work. The Novos are a nice touch.
Yeah, so I don't remember if I played against this deck in particular, but I played against some deck that which ran Novas in it. And the main reason for Nova inclusion in that deck was to counter farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I played against this deck. Yeah, I played against Nurturing Nature for sure. And this is the only list that runs Nurturing Nature, right? Out of all people.
Certainly out of the top 16. I think it was out of the whole con too. Yeah. Actually, I have them right here. Let's have a look. No, there was one Jeff W down in 26th place. Is Tim? Yeah. Okay, so there was only 2 the whole con.
Yeah, that doesn't run Nova, so I played against this deck, and that was the very interesting thing that he included Novas just to counter farm. And in my game in particular, he didn't find any. But if he would have, they would be really good against. Because all my thing that my deck does is focusing on having as much power troublemaker face off as you can, and that's purpose of any farm deck.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Nova just crushes that if you can't deal with her.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out also that, even farm decks these days, and especially in old core, it is old core now. There weren't that many. There were a fair few villains, but there was also a fair few epics that weren't villains, and so having your counter farm card be a friend actually kind of works, given that the Storm Kings and such that are around. Novo isn't just automatically frightened if you leave her at a problem with a troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, cool idea.
Yeah, really like the Nova inclusion.
Okay, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Not really, no.
Alrighty. Well, next on the list is you.
Hey!
I think.
Do I have all day?
Well, you've certainly got a fair amount, given that we just started.
I mean, my deck, I have been running it for a long time now. Originally, it was actually a white-purple deck without any blue in it. And the idea was to portal exposed to immediately farm troublemakers. Like, bam, here's surprise, I'm actually farming troublemakers. That was the idea. And then I found out about this cool card called Zeroed Out, and all the rest of the blue package that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Daring the posters, we got Ultimate Organizers, we had Friends Forever wasn't released back in the days. So no Flash Magnus' shields yet. But then that was released, and the deck became even better. Actually good enough to be like competitively viable, more or less.
Indeed.
And then Portal got banned.
It's true, yes.
But turns out this deck actually works reasonably well enough without the Portal because they have Substitute as Luna's Futures. Sure, it doesn't have like this immediate control tool anymore, where you just portal Zeroed Out or Exposed to bring a Troublemaker into play. But it still works as a farming deck because you just Luna's Futures all that stuff and then farm Troublemakers. And the things that this deck can do in right conditions can be quite amazing. After Continentals, actually, we had a game with Grandpaws. And while he won that game, we decided to see what would have happened next turn. And if next turn was to happen, I would score 9 points from 6 to 15.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, that's the stuff that this deck can pull off. And I really like it. I really enjoy the playstyle. It's one of my favorite decks.
Mm-hmm. I know it. Well, I played against, obviously, I played against prototypes and earlier builds of this deck before, and it always kind of threw me for a loop to see that, okay, this is control. Wait a second, you're going to defeat your own troublemakers. Like, what is this? And yeah, it's like, I don't know if, okay, you call it a farming deck, so I'll say it's a farming deck, but it's really
a control farming deck.
Yeah,
I would say it's more control than farming.
Okay.
It uses so the general game plan for this deck is you control early game, and once you're like comfortable enough with the game state, you just farm to accelerate points. That's the main thing that this deck does. Actually, you know the hilarious part? If I had that next turn in Grandpa's game, I would have won in 14 points versus 15. Reminds you of something?
Yeah. Don't remind me, please. And so your top 16 match was against Josh, the eventual winner, right?
Yeah, but Josh's deck just destroyed us.
All right.
There was no chance. Like we are also paired in Swiss, and they lost that too. Like in best of 3, I haven't won a single game. But like it's not a favorable matchup for this deck anyway.
All right, fair enough. Bit short of all day, but we can move on.
Yep.
Okay. So next up is the deck belonging to Mr. Jaffus. We saw him on stream during the Swiss rounds. I don't think we saw any of his elimination elimination match. But he was running this Chrysalis, white-blue, frightened control kind of thing. Well, I think... So, like, it's actually one of the weirdest things about this year's Continentals in general, was that, like, so many of the decks I wanted to say control, but then you look at them and you're like, is it really control? It's kind of, like, you know, would you see, like, Rarity Pony Pirate in a control deck? That is, you know, Cybernetic Limb Activator in a control deck, that makes me second guess myself. I feel like there was a lot of that across the field.
Pirate Ship as well.
Mm-hmm.
calling the Dream Cavalry. I guess it's an aggro deck with like controlled sub theme, mid-range, eh? That's what we call it these days.
Yeah, mid-range feels like such a cop-out sometimes, but sure. Yeah, like I know the time that I saw it on stream, it certainly played like Control, because Torch got out early, and at that point, he just frightened everything that came into play, basically. And then at some point, I think Flash Magnus came down later, and then, yeah, just kind of casually strolled to the victory because his opponent couldn't do anything.
Yeah, Torch in an early game sounds terrible. I wouldn't want that against me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think that was right. He ended up playing against Max's deck, I think. And it was a Chrysalis mirror, that's why.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. And I guess he just kind of got the better draw of it.
There were a lot of Chrysalises in the Continentals.
Issue Pretender, this and next. I guess. There were a few.
3?
3 is enough to be a lot, yeah.
I think the third one is Joking Luna, actually. Maybe not. I'm not too familiar with the real name.
Right. I'm not familiar enough either, unfortunately.
Yeah. But yeah, it's blue-white. Aggro with some control in it. Because it could be more aggro, but it goes control instead.
See, that's the thing. That's you look at the deck and call it aggro, and then you say, oh, but there's on ponies, but there's Torch, but there's well, those, I guess.
Yeah. Not many answers to farm, though.
Yeah, that's a fair assertion to say. Not much real ways of dealing with troublemakers.
Like 3 dilemmas and all of the frightened things is quite irrelevant in the farm match.
Mm-hmm. And given, I guess, how much farm ended up in the playoff round, that
I think all of it.
Yeah, counting you, yeah, I guess so. Which, yeah, to be fair, that's how it's generally been. Farm certainly has been one of the most reliable archetypes in the whole course of the game's history. So.
Yeah, like, in core it was the same. Like everyone is like, "Oh, farm doesn't exist anymore. Oh, farm doesn't exist anymore," and it just comes out of nowhere and wrecks. And then the J gets banned, and then farm doesn't exist anymore. Oh, farm doesn't exist anymore, and then it's in top 4 Continentals last year.
Yes.
Yeah, and the same thing's happening over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Lesson for those out there considering the rotation.
Yeah, like, rotation, farm doesn't exist. Right?
I would not bet on it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, next up is Jonathan Sokol's list.
Not Seleno.
It's true. I was surprised.
Me too, when I got matched against him. It's like, wait, this is not the right main.
Yep. The only Thorax Orange in the tournament, I think. Oh, no. There's a Thorax Orange down at the bottom as well. And 29th from Forest.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Okay.
Is it the same list?
I imagine.
No, it is not. That one is more orange.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Given the deck's kind of standings in TIA, I was expecting someone to at least bring it. The Continentals. it deserves someone to represent it. By the way, Tia update coming like tomorrow or something, just so everyone knows. But anyway, yeah, this plays very similar, I think. Close, I imagine, to the list that Skitter first popularized out on the West Coast. Making use of treading water and Rockhoof and all the amazing low printed power, high actual impact stuff that exists out there. Plus, of course, Thorax and Defend the Hive and others.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed like so many of these yellow decks, the matchup against Farm was basically Spooky Ruins or bust. But Spooky Ruins is a pretty good card.
Even against Farm, like, they have resource removal. They know about Spooky Ruins.
Mm-hmm. And Thorax at least can throw down with Troublemakers sometimes.
Yeah. I don't remember if is Treading Water a May effect?
One of my friends. It is not a May.
Oh, I think that's actually bad.
Could be a problem, yeah. If there's a villain waiting to go.
Oh, Smithers is asking, is this the only list that is new core league? And I think that's not a stretch to say that it probably is.
Well, it definitely is. I'll
Yeah.
have a look.
Might be the only one.
Well, yeah, so all the purple lists have Napcakes in them, so throw that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, so all the other lists are either run like non-core legal mains, or are purple and run Napcakes.
Mm-hmm.
And probably some other cards as well, like Sonata.
Or Barrel, or something like that.
Or Barrel, yeah. So many people run Barrel. So yeah, I guess this is the gonna be a thing in new core.
This one just transplants directly over. Why not?
Yep. Maybe like some inclusions from Leaders and Legends, but that's about it.
Yeah. What would I put in for Leaders and Legends in here?
The new yellow entry, Fluttershy?
Yeah. That'd be a good bet. Anything in orange? Maybe replace the Sequestria Applejack with the Leaders and Legends Applejack.
Yeah.
But probably relatively minor modifications in general.
Okay, next list.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Kevin's list.
Mm-hmm. Kevin with the
big cheese list, as I call it.
Pretty much, yeah. I think this was. Let me see. There were 3 people in the top 16 with this, right? Cheese, Kevin, and George.
Yeah.
Right. And relatively, I don't know if there were any modifications between most of them. Minor, if there were. So we'll.
Yeah, I guess we can just talk about it now and then skip later.
Kevin gets the honor of being the one we actually talk about.
Yeah. They actually faced off at top 8, I think. Kevin and Big Cheese. So only one can go through.
That's right. Oh, okay. Apparently, Grandpa tells us there were some minor modifications, so we'll make mention of those as we get through, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I feel like we've been talking about this deck for more than a year now, even going back to
16th Vancouver.
Well, yeah. But back then it was still basically BRB, right?
Yeah. But now it's less so.
Yeah, without Portal, the ongoing narrative of Purple, but still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
Still has plenty of single target removal in the Chrysalises, in the there was something else.
Instead of old money,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, and then plenty of ways to deal with sort of large board states as well. Sonata counts as single target removal, I guess, because of belly flop. Anyway,
And bodyguards.
Yes. In the party of one, in the ability to play bait and switch over and over again, thanks to Discord. Very strong in the farming matchups that occurred often.
Yeah, as well as cracking the case against farming.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Oh, and school shutdown, of course. Forgot about that one too. Yeah, just a deck with lots of abilities to do anything it needs to do, essentially.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how it shifted from because of the portal ban, how it shifted from being like the BRB list to like more like general control list. If you actually count how many interplay effects are in this deck, there are only 4, I think. Well, 6 if you count bait and switch, which is not a whole lot. And only like 5 cards that can trigger them, and Luna's Futures is probably saved for some resource.
Mm-hmm. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a raffle in it anymore. I don't remember if the one who released had the raffle, but the BRB definitely did.
Back in the olden days, yeah. It's also interesting to note that this list only has 3 troublemakers in it, and yet does so well at keeping the board locked down due to rarity in Twilight and discording them, etc., etc. Like, and also just how good it is at defending those troublemakers. It can make them go a long way.
Yep.
All right.
Next list.
All right, next list. Next list, TJ. That's right. One of the 2 Luna Yellow players who made it to the top 16.
Don't think we've seen Luna Yellow before this tournament.
I'm sure it was around. It must have been.
Yeah, like people have talked about it, but I don't think we've actually seen it being played.
Yeah.
I haven't.
I'm not sure. But yeah, this it looks kind of similar to the blue yellow list I've seen before. The Pirate Fluttershy, Cloud Chaser Flitter, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy.
Mm-hmm.
The blue yellow multicard are just so good for this kind of aggro DFO style.
Yeah, I think that might be the reason why like there are like traditional Luna colors is like why blue and pink, because all of them like have hasty things going for them. But I think because of the critical mass of good blue yellow cards, it's just worth running blue and yellow instead of that.
Mm-hmm. And blue nowadays, well, it was, I guess, only Rainbow Dash and Mullet was the only hasty card that kind of recent in, but blue has enough hasty to kind of keep things reasonably.
Yeah, there are 9 hasty cards on this list.
Yeah. And I guess this car, David was the guy running the other blue and yellow list, the one that TJ played in a mirror in his top 16 round. Well, again, mirror air quotes. We'll see if it's actually the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Someone is spamming in chat.
Yeah.
This has never happened before.
Oh, it never happened. Yeah, let me see. Can I? Well, you're the guy. Well, I've never actually had to moderate Twitch before.
Me neither. Not that I have any powers anyway, but
Yeah. I'm the guy who's actually. Let me see here.
I guess they stopped. So.
Oh. Wait, maybe we're fine. Okay. I'll just make a note to myself to learn how to do Twitch moderation for next stream. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose once again we'll get to David's deck and see if there's any significant differences or not between this list. Also notable, I saw it before with with Kevin's list? I've seen a lot of decks so far that aren't 45 cards. This one's 48. I know.
Yeah, there are a lot of 46 card decks out there, and more than that, top 1 deck is 46 cards.
Yeah. So I don't know if people just weren't getting the memo this year, or maybe this is a sign that.
Yeah. Kind of makes me think maybe I should have run the 46 card deck, because I had to do some very heartbreaking cuts to include Ultimate Organizers in my list.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the difference between 46 and 45 isn't actually as bad as we all thought it was. Never mind 47 and 48.
53.
53 I feel is probably still pushing it quite a bit.
Yeah, a little. But yeah, like this list is, other than Bluna, is pretty much your regular white blue. Pegasus white blue, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Next
up, rounding out our top 16, is the fellow who was the top seed coming out of Swiss.
I think he took top 1 in Swiss.
Yes, he was top seed out of Swiss. Max Gardner playing Chrysalis, Reanimator, the deck referred to as Oops All Bombs. Really sad, obviously, to see him go out in the Swiss round, in the top 16, because I feel like this deck's super strong and probably deserves
nothing against Kelming.
Well, yeah. It was a really, really unfortunate matchup against a deck that he honestly had a right to not be expecting. So
yeah,
that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles.
It was sometimes. A cool rogue deck, though. But I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to it, and I will gush about it because it's got a Celestia in it. Whereas this deck does not.
Yeah, like there's Celestia Tricorn, and it doesn't run it. What?
Yeah, the only Tricorn. Well, the only Tricorn of core at that point.
Yeah, the only Tricorn that he could have run.
Well, yeah. Generally speaking, we all know kind of how Reanimator functions. This deck has Apple Bloom and Smolder and Sandbar and Orchard Blossom, I guess, kind of, as the early discard outlets. And then Orchard Blossom and Redeeming Qualities to get something out. And all the Tricorns are such enormous threats, basically, that as soon as they hit, if the opponent doesn't deal with them, you've got a good advantage.
Yeah, even like Tricorns by themselves, without any other friends. And people only have so much removal.
Mm-hmm. And there are only, like, in the case of, say, Twilight, sometimes removal isn't even enough.
Yeah.
And
Can truly remove Twilight from the board.
And in the case of Cadence, well, that removal will likely end up costing more.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to say?
Not really. Like we have talked about this list before. It's
Yeah, and this
pretty-
one, yeah,
I think we've talked about like Harmony list more because
Okay.
I think this like we first seen
That's
it as
right.
a Harmony.
this was played at, I want to say
Vancouver.
Everfree? Oh,
I think it was at Vancouver as well.
well, yeah, at least at Vancouver, yes. Played as a Harmony list. Yeah. This was another deck that was discussed at length 2 weeks ago, because Grandpa's had said that he would have brought it to the con were he playing in the tournament. So, alrighty, so that does take us out of the top 16. Starting up at the top 8, I mentioned that Nurturing Nature was not the only Fluttershy.
Brandon's
the
list.
convention. That's right.
Quite the rogue deck.
Very, very distinct. Very different. Purple, yellow, white. Tricolor.
Oh yeah, it has white in it.
Yep, basically just for bedtime and big mix-up. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Another deck, by the way, 50 cards in this one. Potentially pushing the boundaries a little bit on that.
Yeah, especially since kinda relies on bedtime, and you. Okay, if I relied on the card that much, I would probably try to can down. But guess it worked. So
I mean, the guy made it to top 16 at Continental, so
higher than me.
Yep. So yeah, the sort of main point here, for those who maybe didn't watch the stream or weren't at the con, we have a lot of coming, whether that be from Sunburst or from Celestia or from Terramar or I guess Fluttershy Sea Pony, and we also have bedtime to banish stuff as it comes out of play back to hand. We've got a lot of bounce effects. Whether that be Big Mix-Up or Unsatisfactory Work or Tough Love or Fly Low, actually, as well. I didn't see that one come out. And we also have Celestia herself, who will work with that calming stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just so happy. Solar Serenity was one of the cards that, for the longest time, I kept trying to make work. And I could never figure it out, but I knew there was potential in this card. And I'm so happy that it's finally achieving at least some measure of fame for it.
Yeah, and he did use it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen like the stream game yet, or I haven't been matched up myself, but I have watched the game against Max. And it was interesting. Basically, what was happening is Max runs all of those big, cool friends, and Brennan has Yona and Bedtime in play. So every turn, what was happening is Twilight gets bounced back into his hand, and he pays 2 to banish her instead to keep her like on the board, which is basically a 2 ET tax every turn.
As long as Yona's around, yeah.
Yes. And Yona was around for a while, and then he found another one. And which is, this all basically like ruins the reanimator deck, because all of those bounce effects, like you're most of the decks are usually fine with bouncing because they can just replay the thing that got bounced, but not reanimator because it doesn't usually play things.
Yeah, absolutely. Your avenues to get stuff out of the discard pile are pretty limited. Just the 6 cards, and Orchard Blossom's pretty expensive. So, indeed.
So yeah, that was quite a matchup.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the one time we did see this on stream was the next round against the second place Taft's nearly friendless farming deck, where all the bounce effects and calming were functionally useless. So, yeah, wasn't the best time for him.
And I think this deck has no ways of dealing with epics.
Have a look here.
Like, Friends Always There can take Troublemakers under your control, but that doesn't do anything against epic. I guess Spooky Ruins do something.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah, it was essentially a matchup of Spooky Ruins, and then if Taft could deal with it, then it was his game. And, well, he did.
Mm-hmm.
But in any event, cool. I know that I had to look up what exactly this main did when we saw it on stream.
Calming and then something lose one.
Same as me. You lose an 18 somehow.
When they confront?
Let me see here. It's like when at the start of a problem face off involving this card.
Oh, well, close enough.
Yeah. And when you confront the problem, she turns the problem over. That's the only thing you need to know.
Yeah. Don't really see that main very often, but this main makes sense for this deck. I don't think there's a better yellow main that you would run with this.
Yeah.
Like, I think your only option is either Nova or Nurturing Nature, and Nova doesn't do things, especially with like Rex that we have here.
Yeah.
And Nurturing Nature is, I guess she is good, but like this deck doesn't try going fast. It tries to control, and Nurturing Nature doesn't really help with that, unlike this main.
Yeah, actually do appreciate the calming that the main gives you a fair amount.
Mm-hmm. Especially with Celestia.
Yeah.
And I think there's a problem somewhere there. The one with the angel on the art. I think it does something. Or maybe it's another one, but there was a problem that does something with the low power.
Let me see here.
Yes, the Fluttershy's worst nightmare. At the start of the problem face-off, put each opposing friend here with 0 power into its owner.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, cool deck.
Yeah.
Appreciated seeing it on stream. Alright.
Next list?
Yeah, next list. So here is David Pinkston, the other Luna Yellow.
There are a couple of differences.
Yes. Well, I see the uneven ground. I believe that's different as well. That's one big difference right away.
There's also a locked out problem.
Oh, that's right. I always scroll past the problem deck right away. Yeah.
Problems are a big part of decks.
It's true. It's true. Especially starting problems.
Yeah.
Not that, well, Trading Traditions is kind of a good starter most of the time. But again, I don't believe I ever actually saw this deck see play, so I shouldn't make presumptions about the strategies he used.
Well, I would imagine you replace Trading Traditions with Locked Out, because in the mid game where you probably don't need entry, flipping Trading Traditions isn't great, because you already have your color, and the 4 on the other side can be pretty damaging to your game.
Mm-hmm.
And Locked Out is 0 bonus 5, which is better than 1 bonus 4. Well, I guess not for an aggro deck though. Like,
the fact that it is 4 to you is definitely something.
Yes.
That is Luna plus literally anything.
Shoeshine, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see why would you run that instead of double Trading Traditions. I can also see why would you run Uneven Ground.
Yep. Everyone is either on one side of that coin or the other, but everyone understands that she's a good card.
Yeah.
Whether you
Love
love
to
her or
see
hate
Gun.
her, everyone knows she's good.
Ooh, she's my least favorite card in the game.
Do we? Yeah, like, there's no true equivalent anymore in core, right?
Not really, no. So there is that new Kirin.
Yeah.
Don't remember her name. That's not like
Rain
it's not
Shine.
the same, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does deny AT gain, but it doesn't do anything with AT that is already.
Yeah.
So no equivalent, no.
And besides that, this is pretty similar. Got your hasty stuff, night gliders, resource removal, usual suite of blue-yellow friends.
I think the only change is on even ground instead of Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash are the ones that when you lose the face of against Troublemaker, you may move a friend from home.
Ah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, that looks correct.
Which makes sense. If you're like afraid of a lot of AT gen combos, like Mistmain combos and control in general, purple control in general, on living ground can be a really good card.
Yep. So many decks that love banking their AT up. Even farm, generally speaking, tends to have, when farm's doing its thing, it doesn't have a whole lot of AT, a lot of things to spend AT on, so
yeah,
just bank it up.
Yeah, bank it up and then like use Scoosha down or Catherjack when you need. Not with an in ground though. Can't do that.
Alrighty. So
next list
is George, our second incarnation of the Tempest Pink White. And this is definitely different. Or wait, sorry, did I skip one?
No.
Okay.
Is it different?
Yeah.
Oh, there was 2 skull shutdowns.
2 skull shutdowns, yeah. Cheese's list only had 1 Mimics, I believe. 2 Rubbers, 1 Mimics.
Yeah.
This has 2. Besides that...
So I think the no Sunset Festival, I see.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
No cracking the cases. And I think that's it. Oh, 2 exposed. There we go. That's another one.
Yeah. Yeah. So very minor differences. I suppose getting rid of the cracks makes you a little bit more exposed to farm. At the cost of being, with the benefit of, I guess, more troublemakers, more exposed means you're better against aggro, I assume.
Yeah.
More school shutdowns as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and you still have like bait and switch and those extra school shutdowns. Because like against a farming deck, there's nothing really to use Party Clasher on other than bait and switch. You're not going to use it on exposed or what else is here? Nothing ever.
Nothing really. Yeah.
Oh, also it doesn't have the Chrysalis, the pink white Chrysalis.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I was looking for it and it's not there. But yeah, pink white Crystal is also not very useful against farm, I suppose. You're not going to banish their Catherjack to Catherjack.
Of course. Although actually Cheese did that in the last round. Granted, it was like a completely out of time desperation play, but he did actually Chrysalis Catherjack just to get it off of Tap's board.
Yeah, that's fair. Like to just remove a 5 power friend, but generally it either just removes a 5 power friend or actively hurts you. I'm not sure if the problems are different. They might be different.
They look relatively standard. Again, I guess as I said, I didn't really look at the problems when Kevin's deck showed up, so maybe there's a small difference there in the.
So there's Hysterical Recreation, which was put there instead of Spell Showdown,
Oh, okay.
and something else. But yeah, Hysterical Recreation actually makes sense. Also against like aggro and stuff, because you sit on your unicorns, and suddenly all of your troublemakers, because I believe Hysterical Recreation works everywhere. Yes.
Yep.
So it works on characters here, but all of the troublemakers get the power. So if you have like 4 unicorns there, or like 4 Vayne characters, suddenly your mimics are 10 power and grubbers are 9 power, which is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, well, yeah, it's. I was going to make a note of it about farm, but obviously, it doesn't matter because farm will just play epics on your troublemakers anyway. Yeah. But yeah, against aggro for sure.
It'd be cool if Hysterical Recreation said troublemakers, not your troublemakers. While that does sound like bad for you, it might actually be very good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your epic now has like 20 power. Good luck farming that.
Yeah, like to the point that I was going to make. Yeah, that is something about the way the farm works in this meta versus the way it was for Applejack, say for example, is that nowadays Rainbow Dash has only so much of a range that she can actually beat. If a troublemaker is at 10 or 11 or something like that, that's pretty far outside the realm, unless you've got a shield and an ember or whatever. Yeah,
it does get quite high though. Like Rainbow Dash can get like up to 9 or 11 power, right? And not every Applejack matchup was getting that high.
Mm-hmm.
And you can like reflip Big Macs too, so you can get more than that. Theoretically, you can get infinite, but
it's true, I guess. Yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, Hysterical Recreation is a card that makes sense in this deck. Next list. Our first farm.
Oh yeah, this is Ivory's.
It might be exactly the same as the rest of them.
I believe that Bugle and Ivory's list were exactly the same.
Yeah, they're exactly the same, the Bugles and Ivories.
Okay. So we can skip Bugle.
Sorry, Bugle.
The blue deck that runs purple so that it can flip an orange card.
Yeah.
Essentially. And do other things with the purple too, but yeah.
So this deck is a Chaos Control deck.
Oh, Smithers points out very well. You were the first farm deck that we got to.
Yeah, but it's, as I said, it was more control than farm. At least that's how I think of it. It's a control deck first, and farming is the second thing that it does. So, sure, but yeah, sure. Second farming deck.
Sure. The first traditional, canonical.
Yes.
What people would think of when you say farm. This is what you get. So we saw a whole lot of this on stream, obviously, whether it was Bugle or Ivory or Taft, of course, although Taft's list was a little bit different. And yeah, this is the somewhat more, in comparison to Taft's list, this is the more aggressive variant with the Daybreakers, with the Rainbow Dash and Mullet, with the Big Mac. Much more ability to confront problems and take face-offs outside of just doing the farming thing. Care to say anything about the chat heckling you?
Nope.
Fair enough.
I made my statement in the form of a shirt, and not the shirt, in form of that image.
Right.
Still haven't changed my mind. But yeah, I will say that nothing feels better while playing. So, okay, nothing feels better while you're playing, and nothing feels worse while playing against this deck than flipping Big Mac blindly.
Yep. Yeah. That it really does just take Rainbow Dash up to the next level.
Yes. Because like 5 power on face-offs isn't like, it's not that scary. Yes, it's a farming deck. Yes, it flips very high. There's still a chance that they're gonna lose, especially like with Zeroed Outs and Daybreakers. Like, they're not that high with flips. And again, some, especially like control decks, they can still lose face-offs. But once Rainbow Dash gets that power, that 2 power from Big Mac, things turn differently.
7 is on par with or beating all of the troublemakers in this deck naturally, and it just comes down to the range of flips where you lose becomes much smaller.
And once second Big Mac is flipped, there's pretty much guarantee that you'll win pretty much every face-off. And this deck has some ways to get Big Mac on top of your deck. By some, I mean the scope.
The scope, yes. Yeah, it's weird because, like, looking at it, we say to ourselves, like, wait, scope, I can only play that if my main's boosted or if I've got a zeroed out in play. Or I guess if I have a stick and it's Trade Tradition still.
Yeah.
Okay, so
competitive.
Yeah. Like it feels like such a narrow thing. It's like, wait, if I have these conditions, then I can get this one card on top of my deck, and that's great. But if as you said, when you pull it off, suddenly the deck just becomes it's like level 2, and you're just ready to go.
Well, yeah, but you can still play scope without only with having motivational speech.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
which is, I think, the big part of why it works. Like, you don't have to flip Big Mac blindly to enable anything.
Mm-hmm. I suppose Join the Herd actually works too. Okay, so maybe there's
no. Rainbow Dash has competitive too, which means she is 5 power during the face. So all you need is have your main purple.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's the big part of why this is so good. Well, other than flipping Big Mac is just good in general, because having power counters on the main is extremely good, because there's not many ways to interact with that. You just have to accept the fact that their main is now 7 power during face-offs.
Pretty much, yeah.
But also, yeah, as you said, another thing that really upgrades this deck by flipping Big Mac is Rainbow Dash could confront all of the problems by herself.
This is true, yes. Once she gets to 5 power naturally, then yeah, she can just do everything.
Yeah. And probably many of the opponent's problems too once she flips the second one.
7, yes. There aren't that many problems out there that are, I mean, in control decks and such, yeah. Like, say, Cheese's deck running the on the cases and similar stuff. Yeah. And I guess Blackmail, you'll run into a fair amount of that. But in general, certainly if you're playing against an aggro or a mid-range opponent, yes, the 7 you'll confront most everything.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, farm pretty strong again.
It didn't go anywhere. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, we'll see about next score.
All right. So, next up in our top fours, or actually, no, getting to our top fours, the people who were there on Sunday, is
Big cheese.
Cheese himself.
Let me see if Kevin ran the same list.
Definitely different. Or wait.
The problems are different, but everything else seems to be exactly the same.
For Kevin's list, actually, yeah. Or wait, no. He's got 2 Mimics, 2 Grubbers. That wasn't Kevin's list, was it?
Oh yeah, 2 Mimics, 2 Grubbers instead of 1 Chrysalis.
I see, okay. Well, yes.
So Kevin's list ran 1 Mimics, 2 Grubbers, and 3 Chrysalises. And Cheese runs only 2 Chrysalises, 2 Mimics, and 2 Grubbers.
Right. So, very small tweak, again, towards having a little bit more security in the Troublemakers. I felt like Cheese's list certainly had more than 1 Mimic in it, based on what I saw.
Also 2 exposed instead of not sure what. Oh, instead of 1 crack. There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Cheese actually didn't have that crack there in the first place. He added it I don't remember what the deck he shown on stream the week before, but he was definitely considering including more cracks before the tournament.
Well, yeah. It comes down to a judgment call of how much farm you expect to be there.
There was actually a little bit of hilarious beat. So the day before, or the 2 days before Continentals, Ivory, I, Kevin, and Max were in one room. And Big Cheese hasn't arrived yet, but he was in Mumble. So we had a laptop with the voice, and it was Cheese because he was in Mumble, right?
Yeah.
And Cheese was really thinking about adding the crack and talking about it. And Ivory, the farm player, was trying to convince him not to do that. Oh, why would you add crack? Farm is not as strong as you think. Or there won't be as much farm as you think. It'll be only Bugle. And it was quite fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, so certainly Cheese, it's my biggest, well, I don't know. So there were a bunch of games at the tournament that weren't on stream that I wish I would have gotten to see. We mentioned Ivory and Bugle already. Their mirror match where they, one of them got eliminated. Ivory got eliminated because Bugle beat him. I would have liked to see that one, given that it was a literal just farming mirror, and it was essentially them just kind of throwing punches at each other until one of them lost. But Cheese's match against David, the one where we were doing the stream and then we got an update from the other side that was oh, Cheese is down 12-2 against David. And Pages said at the time, well, we don't actually know what the board state looks like. Maybe that's actually a good spot for Cheese. Who knows? And then half an hour later, we get an update. It's okay, Cheese is up to 6 points now. And he pulled it out somehow. I wish I could have seen that one.
Aren't the games where the game is turned the best?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so great about complex games. The actual point count doesn't tell you anything about the game that is happening.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty.
Okay, next list.
So the next list in top 4 is Bugle, with the exact same list as Ivory.
Yeah.
So we'll just move on.
Yeah.
Acknowledge Bugle did well, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ivory and Bugle had to face each other. Only one comes out.
And move right along to second place, which is another farming list anyway. Taft, Ashcraft, with the nearly friendless blue, purple, white list. White just for the Changeling Throne, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the big difference is, of course, with this and the traditional aggressive farm list, obviously missing all the friends, and in replacement, there's a better word for that. But anyway, we've got the Sparkly attack, the sneak attack, the thrones, of course. Let me see here. We're also running Exposed Inequality and Vicious Vengeance added to our Troublemaker list. I think Beam Cannon wasn't in those lists as well. So,
No.
Yeah. So much slower, much more control-oriented, much more traditional, if we're saying traditional is the way farming used to be back before Applejack got banned, honestly. Has a bit of the old One Punch Mayor kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I haven't been around for One Punch Man, but I guess it was looking similar.
Well, yeah. Obviously, the cards are different because it's more modern, but that deck was essentially Rainbow Dash, and I don't believe she ran any frames in that deck, actually. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I suppose like that little bit of control really helped him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Still need to see the top one match from the stream though. Only seen it live.
I see. Okay. Yeah, and okay. Well, like one thing that's definitely worth saying about this deck is he got the same advantage that the older farm decks always did. Essentially, that so many other decks, they've got stuff to deal with friends, and when your game plan is just main and troublemakers and resources, sometimes in this case, sometimes you just win because they have no way to interact with you and stop you from doing your thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was certainly the case in Tap's top 8 match when he was against Brandon's Fluttershy, and presumably he ran into a fair amount of that over the course of Swiss as well.
Yeah, interesting, but we haven't actually seen like many Magicides in purple decks because that is like the counter to farm.
It's true. I don't know if we've seen that at all over the course of this whole stream yet.
Nope. Well, I don't run it, so I should ask myself this question.
Is it still legal in core?
Nope.
Yeah, it's Marks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in core we have like organizers, the Traveler Spike, which Traveler Spike is pretty good. It's not as good as immediate move, but against farming like this, like if you move their Rainbow Dash home, they're basically disabled for one turn. So I would say it's pretty good.
I hope so too. But yeah, and then also Taft made a mention to me during when I was interviewing him before the con of how he's got the 3 Applejacks and the 3 school shutdowns to be just significant pile-on mass removal against the opponent, and that worked great against Control that I saw on stream against Cheese, and also, works great against Control, works great against the mid-range decks, works great against the wide aggro decks, kind of works great against decks that play friends, which is everyone except him, and just to a lesser extent the other farmers.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. I guess next up we go to our winning deck.
Lyra. This deck wrecked me so hard. 3 times, not once. 3.
So how was it? Well, how was the early game? I guess because I know the early game of this deck is like
you
one
want to
of
hear
the.
how was the early game? The early game was like this. I play Apple Bloom, I exhaust Apple Bloom, I play Roku for free. He, of course, discards Follow My Lead, because what else would he discard? And then he plays something else, or maybe keeps his AT. Like Heaven Bay is a great thing to play turn 1 as well. So yeah, that's how turn 1 goes.
Mm-hmm.
Next, he might play like, oh, you have a Troublemaker, then I'll play Smart Cookie. Or like Rockhoof gets up to 8. Also, that card was amazing.
Mm-hmm. I was very happy that we managed to do that during the final stream.
Yeah, because like especially during the final, not just any stream.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this deck, like against me personally, the general thing why this deck was winning so hard is because it can expand its board so hard early game. Because all of the things that he plays are relatively cheap. Like Rockhoof can get very big and he's very cheap. Like basically he dumps his entire hand and then flips Lyra. And that happens very early on, before I could like set up the.
Yeah, absolutely. This deck's early game is, I think, probably the most distinctive part of it, and it is. When Lyra first came out, a lot of people thought, "Oh yeah, this is how you're going to play Lyra. You're going to dump your hand, and then you're going to flip her over." And I didn't see too many decks outside of this one, obviously, that actually implemented that in a competitive way. And this one, yeah, like you said, just play a whole bunch of cheap stuff. And not just a bunch of cheap stuff, but a bunch of cheap stuff that grows over the course of the game and stays relevant outside of the early game.
Yeah.
And keeps generating value. And then transition into this mid game where you've got an 8 power Rockuff and a Berry Punch with 7 and Smart Cookie that can be whatever as long as there's still stuff in your discard pile. Yeah.
Another thing that is really good here against the farm, and it was really good against me, is Jest. Because he can drop that very early on, like turn 2 or even 1. And my deck in particular has no way to deal with problem replacements, repeatable problem replacement this early on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't establish a lock on the game with Troublemakers, because he just keeps replacing them. And I can't confront that problem myself early on because my deck is not designed to confront this early on. It's just, it establishes the lock first and then it thinks about getting points.
Yeah.
And I think against like traditional farm, that's kind of the case as well. It's like Rainbow Dash, what she's gonna do? She can't confront Jest early on.
Mm-hmm. Jest at 7 is just out of reach for.
Yes.
Like the sort of Bugle and Ivory's farming deck can do it, yes. But it's real hard because Rainbow Dash is at 3, unless she has her counters on her. She'll require 2 more friends to confront, I think, because everything else is 3, right? Yeah.
And like Taft has like only sticks.
Yeah, sticks and potentially getting an Applejack into play, and that's it.
Yeah, which is like, well, like just one stick won't be enough. You need to have stick and Applejack.
Yeah, that's right.
And like that sounds very unlikely early on. So Jest is a like really good card here. It shouldn't go unmentioned for sure.
Absolutely. Right. And unfortunately, yeah, this one I think gets torn up with the rotation. Losing Apple Bloom and Smart Cookie pretty big.
Lyra.
And and Lyra, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, so last gasp for this one, unfortunately. But Josh has been the man who was doing Pink Orange basically for the whole scene for the last couple of years, so good to see it go out with a resounding bang.
So the chat mentions that Stick and Jack that isn't that unlikely because of Ponyo Shadows. Try defeating Ponyo Shadows when your opponent replaces a problem every turn.
That was the problem that we saw during the finals. Like, he could set up Ponyo Shadows, sure, but he would get maybe one turn to try to beat it. And this deck's flip average is pretty fine. Like, there are some unfortunate flips in there, obviously, but Taft, couldn't do it on that one turn. And after that, well, problems are placed. Goodbye.
Yeah. The flip average is free, which is, well, a little bit less than free, but pretty much free.
Yeah.
Which is pretty decent.
It's like he's got some high flips in here. And, obviously he's going to mulligan for the cheap cards. So I think...
And also that flip average without considering Berry Punch, which can be 8.
Yeah. It's true.
During the stream, like the final, did the smart cookie farm ever happen? Because she can do...
I think Taft had the misfires in his deck, and he kept the discard low enough that Smart Cookie couldn't ever really challenge a Troublemaker.
Yeah, misfire is such a good card against this deck.
Especially if there's ever a couple of Follow My Leads in there.
Yeah.
Get rid of them while you can.
Because with Follow My Lead, Apple Bloom essentially becomes a 180 which is pretty good.
We were all gushing about that last year, and it's still impressive.
Yeah, this was my favorite deck out of last year's Continentals. But now that I have played against it, yeah, I'm joking. This is still my favorite deck. Because of how neat it is. And how good it is.
Yeah, and honestly, how unique it is too. Like, after it got played last year, Josh was still basically the only guy doing pink orange. I didn't see anybody else playing it. And
yeah, after Friends for a release, before Friends for a release, there were a couple of pink orange decks flying around. Pink orange white.
Right. The old Breakdown and Grubber.
Yes, Breakdown and Grubber was the thing of those days. But yeah, after Friends Forever, haven't seen pink orange pretty much. And yeah.
Could be coming back, kind of. If you're, Earth Pony Synergy, absolutely a thing in Leaders and Legends.
Oh, is it time for Cruise Director?
No comment.
I'll take that as a yes.
Alrighty. Speaking of Leaders and Legends, if you're ready to move on.
I am.
Okay. Let me just quickly get ourselves back set up here. That's the scene. Yes. So, as is tradition, here we've done it twice, so I guess it counts as tradition here on Meticulous Talks. As soon as the set releases, our first stream is just kind of first impressions, top fives, and then 2 weeks after that we have the proper review stream once we've actually thought through things. But this stream will be just that, the top 5 cards to watch, air quotes, which means different things depending on whether you're asking me or Hithroc or Pages, but we'll get to those as we go through them. But yeah, let's get to them, I guess.
Sure.
Alrighty. So, in at number 5, I have got Pinkie Pie, Professor of Laughter. Hithroc has Buckball Strategy, and Pages has Pegasus Royal Guard. And
I just want to point out that my cards are not in any particular order, but they're like the 5 I've.
Okay, fair enough. I was very happy that I managed to fit a problem in there without completely screwing up the formatting. You kind of threw me for a loop when you picked a problem. Anyway.
Yeah, because problems are important.
Honestly, that problem especially is real good. And it was definitely in my top 10 for sure. So, go ahead. Explain it to people.
Oh, okay. So backball strategy is, I would actually say that it's somewhat similar to trading traditions. Not only because it has 4 for your opponent, but because it allows you to play some cards early on in the game that you wouldn't be able to play otherwise. So, of course, there's Mystery at Hope's Hollow, which finds you an entry, which kind of similar to trading traditions, but I would say that this is more similar to that. And apparently playing 2 rec cards from the start of the game is pretty strong. And that's my reasoning for picking this problem.
Won't disagree at all.
Yeah. And usually, and about its second ability, while the problem is 4 for your opponent, when it's relevant, it will probably be 6, because pretty much any deck tries to flip their main as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. And even the confront to flip mains they'll confront their own problem generally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this card is real good, and one of those that changes how you build the deck.
Yeah. Which, just like Train Traditions, except maybe not so every deck runs it kind of thing. As for me, Professor of Laughter, I think it can't really be overstated how much significance there is on placing hard dismissal like this on an entry friend. It's not necessarily something that I think every deck is going to run this just because they want it. It'd probably be limited mostly to pink, but it's obviously a great early game play. And in the late game, suddenly this card just powers up tremendously. I was playing against Bugle a little while ago, and he showed me that suddenly Transform Pinkie Pie is really good. You can play this early, and then late game, just take Pinkie Pie back and play her again. So
that's cool.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I have this card later on.
Yeah.
So
you can discuss it when we get further on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Speaking of 2 pages card, Pegasus Royal Guard, what was the comment that he made? It was
explosive, because it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was a little bit lukewarm on this card when I first saw it, but the thing that sort of gets me is that if the opponent, if it's a relatively low investment card, just 2 AT, but if the opponent doesn't deal with it, once you get more than one of these on the field, it's actually really hard to completely clean it up for the opponent.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Actually, he made snowball comment, not explosive.
Oh, sure. Yeah, precisely.
Kind of said the same thing. And while it does say that it's only like when it is the 3rd friend, in purple-yellow, it's not hard to get 3 friends per turn into play. You have the Twilight and Fluttershy, which have Meticulous, and whenever you put the card on top of your deck, spawn the creature. And there are some other cards like that as well.
Absolutely.
And you can just play friends, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like I say, it'll be 1, it'll be 2 right away, and then 4. If you get yourself to 8, good for you. I think 4 is honestly a great spot. Yeah. Once you get more than one of them out, you're basically just set. Unless some mass removal comes down.
Which there aren't many in New Core. There's Main 6 and Cornered, and I think that's it.
School Shutdown's still in.
Oh, Cathajack. There we go, yeah.
And that too.
Always forgetting things. But still, it takes mass removal to get rid of this card. Or a double face-off, but if you do the double face-off, they keep their friends, and they can just play free friends again, and they now they have double the. So yeah, even double face-offs don't quite get rid of this card. So yeah, it can get really snowbally, and if you like run dilemmas and if you run the new Fluttershy main, you can do some really big turns with this card for quite a little cost. Remember the Septuple Confront?
Yes, I do.
I don't think it used this card, but I think Sonnet did kind of a similar thing with this card. So yeah, I agree with Pages that you can watch this card, and you should. And I'll be definitely trying purple yellow, and one of these this card is one of the reasons.
Alrighty. Moving on.
All
right. So you mentioned Fluttershy. We'll get to Paige's choice of her. I'll just kind of go first on mine with Crown of the Sibling Supreme. It is a card that I think, as kind of people mentioned it as soon as it came up, goes into farming right away. And we all know that you should never count farming out, especially not when it has point acceleration like this. Like even if this card only goes in farm, I think it is such a natural fit in farm that it just you have to know that it's there. And honestly, there's an argument to be made putting it in other kinds of decks too. It's a little bit more chancy, but there's an argument to be made there.
Yeah.
You have High Tea.
Okay, so High Tea is a card that you have to watch at literally because it has Trixie on it. But more than that, it's a 2-cost AT gen, and it's really good. Even though it has this, like, it's a double-sided effect. It works both for you and your opponent. As many people know, usually double-sided effects are not quite so double-sided, and usually you'll try to either use this, then your opponent will get nothing, or which means that your opponent has to plan their AT, so they're left with even amount, either like forcing them drawing cards, or like doing something else, right? And this card gets even better if you have 2 of them, because with 2 of them, you're guaranteed to get 1 AT without giving your opponent a single one. Not without giving your opponent 1 AT in the reserve. Because once they get that AT once, they won't get it again from the same effect.
This is true.
It's also kind of cool with Stygian because of that. But yeah, IT gens have been like quite strong in general. I mean, we can look at the decks, the purple decks in Continentals, and I bet that all of them except like farm decks run Star. Or maybe that's too strong. Either Starlight or Twilight. Let's go with that.
Yeah. I mean, they all run some sorts of AT generation regardless.
Yes. And this is a very cheap AT gen. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's my pick.
Yep. And as we mentioned, Pages with growing confidence, Fluttershy was definitely one of the mains that... Well, okay, hang on a second. Always let him get his own word in first. What did he say?
Explosive.
Explosive turns. That's right. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Like this was one of the mains that really kind of made me sit up and take notice when I saw them come out. That ability to benefit from problems entering play. Obviously, everyone talks about dilemmas. Even just...
To be fair, you put the wrong side of this main on the slide.
It's true. I didn't have space for both of them. Maybe I should have put the boosted side up. I don't know.
I mean, the boosted side is more important. Though I guess the flip condition is also very important because it doesn't say that this card has to be involved in the face-off. It just flips wherever she is. Don't even have to move her.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the reason it is explosive is because you just can keep playing dilemmas and drawing dilemmas and playing even more dilemmas.
Yep.
So her boosted side is very good. She's also on my list, so I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of overlap in these lists. It's worth pointing out, which is, I would say, good. Those are in some agreement. Alrighty. Number 3. Or the third one, if it's Hithroc's list.
Yeah.
Alright, so pages again with Crown. We talked about it last time around. Fair enough. Good to get through. Your chance to talk about Pinkie Pie.
So, as you said, the pink removal, especially at entry, is quite strong. Because you can run it in any deck, and it's a pink entry. And later in the game, it does something very useful, which is removing a friend with 2 or less power. We can try counting how many relevant 2 or less power friends are there, but it'll take some time. Because there are a lot. I would argue most of the decks run friends that are at 2 or less power that are relevant, rather than the higher power friends.
Yeah, certainly in the last meta for sure. I mean, Yona, the yellow friend, actually started dropping out simply because there weren't that many things for it to hit.
Yes. Like, there are some decks that run high power friends, but a lot of decks, especially aggro decks, run low power friends. That is sad. I base my comment based on experience with the old core. We obviously have no idea what meta will look like in the new core, so maybe it'll be different. But I believe that, especially with blue yellow, most of the things will still be 2 less power.
Yeah, that seems fair to say.
And that is the reason I put this card on this list, and also because this is one more removal to think about. Because I think we'll see this card definitely in the.
All right, and
one more hard removal, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So for me, I've got Same Day Delivery here. A card that I think goes very naturally in basically every kind of purple deck that I can think of. Whether it be purple control, that's going to have a lot of Meticulous and deck thinning anyway, that's just, okay, sure. I'll appreciate having an AT every so often. Or, I've been thinking a little bit about purple aggro, who'd have thought, over the course of the last little while, and it goes obviously in there too. Not so much, you won't have as much Meticulous, but you're still going to run cards like Twilighting, and other stuff that searches through your deck, and they'll appreciate the AT just as much. And that card, I think Bugle kind of said it best, that you almost never want to actually play this card. You just want it to be in your deck, get you AT every so often, shuffle it up. Yeah.
Well, unless you have unless you run something like Salina, it's not easy to get it off your hand. So playing this card might be worth it, and 6 flip is a good flip.
Yeah, that's a good point. It functions in that role kind of like Starswell Research just as much. Also has a fine combo with a card that's not in any of our lists, but it's worth pointing out. Power Shift, the purple event that's like reveal the top card of your deck and move something that's got power less than that card's power. Yeah. So that works. Yeah, as pointed out down in the chat, you can play this card for 0 to proc Torque Wrench as well if you want.
But yeah, totally get why you put it on the list, and I'm sad I only had to pick 5. Because it will definitely get into the 6th spot.
And just to give Pages his blurb about Crown, the word was farm intensifies. Which is true. That's fair to say. Okay. Next up.
This slide is combo slide, I see.
Well, it's definitely shiny or colorful slide. Why don't you talk us out? So you've been kind of whispering in my ear about Chrysalis and Harmony for the whole.
Oh, I've been whispering to everyone's ears who is willing to listen.
And I've been thinking, certainly I've been thinking about it in the core context because I don't have time to think about Harmony right now. And I know there's a lot of cool things you can do with it in core, but I don't know. What's the big thing about Chrysalis?
Oh, the big thing that there are some Harmony keywords that then let you do some really cool. I will not say it directly because I really want to play this deck and then tell people exactly what it does.
Okay.
But there's some really cool stuff it can do in Harmony. It might not necessarily be like the best stuff out there, even though it is pretty good. But yeah, in Harmony it is like, watch out for this card being in combo decks. Because of some things that you can do in Harmony. That I'll leave it at that in Harmony, but in core, I think this card is pretty good as well. Because I like my tricorns for 480. I really like them. And tricorns for 480 means you can get them on turn 2 without any Rex. All you have to do is, as was actually discussed earlier today in Discord, all you have to do is to have Pinky Sense or anything else that will discard you things for 0. And just play this card on turn 2 and banish for like a Cadence or Midnight or whatever. Like, doing that is very good. And if your opponent doesn't have removal, they're in trouble.
Pretty much, yeah. Remember all we were talking about the Reanimator decks? Just imagine turn 2. That's fine. Yeah, and
yeah, pretty good.
Even outside of that, like I've been thinking about plenty of decks where, certainly any deck with the new Pinky main where you're going to be discarding a lot of stuff, it's fine to put this in there if you've got stuff that's going to be in your discard pile that you want to have in play sometimes. Any great continuous modifier or triggered ability or activated ability or etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, another very important thing to note is it can banish things from your opponent's discard pile.
Very true.
So if you like their tricorn, or if there's a particular card in their discard pile that you don't like, just banish it. It only costs 1. It's similar to Smooth in that sense, except Smooth worked on non-friends, and this is the other way around.
Just friends, yeah.
It'd be cool if Smooth replayed the events you banned.
That'd be pretty good. we already have our way to play the opponent's stuff. It's we don't need more of it. All right.
So what about Grogar?
Well, so Grogar, I have a hard time imagining why you would not put Grogar in your control deck. Like it just seems like you put it in all the time because it's a 7-power troublemaker, which is great. It is like the opponent will almost never score the points because if they're going to beat it, you just banish it. So the 2 points are virtually irrelevant. It's a villain, which is great, and you can do fun stuff with it for setting up more troublemakers later. So I can't think of a control deck, or at least a troublemaking control deck that isn't going to want to put this in. And it's great for farm too. 2 points, 7 power. This seems like a really awesome epic.
Yeah, and you can feed other troublemakers to keep farming this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. There is one way I can stop you from banishing this troublemaker, though, and score those 2 points. And it's the Applejack and Apple Bloom that troublemakers lose abilities.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Is that one's orange-yellow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Orange-yellow are 2 colors that might see play. So I suppose that's something to look out for, yeah.
I mean, orange-yellow is the only list in Continentals that is score legal.
True, we got to that, yeah.
But yeah, Grogar is definitely a very strong troublemaker, and he's a villain, the only villain in new core.
Yes, that's true.
We have Chrysalis, which is kind of similar to being a villain, but not actually a villain.
And to give Pages his due, over there we have combo potential. Or sorry, combo was what he said. Just combo. Which is fair
That's
to say.
fair.
We have a number of people in the chat, at least I believe they're still here, who know what they're going to do with this card.
Is it Pile?
I think it may be File. all the people who have been looking at Surprise Party these whole years and thinking, man, if only I could play this at immediate speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's fair to say that this card has uses outside of that too. Because Sonic Rainboom School Shutdown is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like Purple Blue is going anywhere. At least I don't. Not until I'm in.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've spent my time looking through the list of, even just the list of blue events. And they're all pretty good stuff to have at immediate speed. Some of the various songs, you've got so many great movement events, like formation flying's in this set, and that's honestly pretty good to have at immediate speed. There's just so much potential with this card. We can barely even scratch the surface of what exactly it might enable.
Yeah, that's because it's so general. It just there are a lot of main fancy fans out there. I wish it said face-off events. I would love that.
It's true. I think the face-off timing might be something that we just want to try to forget exists.
Just one particular event that I would like to play at main phase at least. It's Burst of Speed.
Oh, Burst of Speed. Well, that's fair. That's fair. All right.
Okay, shall we get to the next slide?
The last slide. 2 cards in here that have already been mentioned. So Pages has to say about Rogar Frustration, which seems like an accurate one-word summation of everything we said last slide. You can say a bit about Fluttershy if you like.
Well, I did say already some things, but yeah, the fact that it can flip so easily without you even, in many cases, not even doing anything, is very good. Because most of the mains we usually have, you have to do something to flip them. Not here now. If you're playing against aggro, it's pretty much guaranteed to flip quite soon. I guess only against control you have to actually do something. And that do doesn't involve you moving your main at all. So she can sit home comfortably all the time.
Absolutely.
And I think this card is especially becomes better with backball strategy, which is the problem I have on my list before. Because her not being flipped until a face-off is not such a problem anymore with 2-rack. Because there's only so many 1-rack cards you have, but there's so many more 2-rack cards out.
Yeah, once you factor in 2-rack, then your ability to do stuff in the early game as yellow is really pretty good. You can even just play the gummies. Well, for 1AT, that's maybe not so good.
Probably not. I would probably just move her. But yeah, and the boosted side is when your problem enters play, draw a card and gain 1AT. Is pretty good. I like getting 1AT and drawing card for every problem face off. And I like playing my dilemmas for essentially free. And drawing a card as well. You can chain so many dilemmas in a row with it, and it can really get out of hand. And what's more importantly, its ability that is on the main, so your opponent can't do anything about it.
Yeah, before, like, basically every other aggro color except pink and decks that use pink has the kind of problem that you play your stuff and then you're out of cards, you're out of fuel to go, and this gives yellow a little bit of an answer to that. You can keep on going and refueling and etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it's a main that has gain 1 in its text, and my combo senses are tingling when mains have that text. It also draws you cards.
It's true.
What can't it do?
It feels like a relatively important piece of some puzzle.
Yeah, as long as you can find a way to replace problems consistently, it can get there.
I'm interested to see what you come up with.
Oh, after 1.103.4 fix, there isn't many things, but before that, that was pretty. The combo is exactly the list that works out of replacing problems in depth.
So what you're saying is this main is like God tier in Nightmare.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, aggro was really good at Nightmare, wasn't it?
Well, okay, yes. Practically speaking, Nightmare being the way it is, yes, aggro is king.
Yeah. So this looks like an aggro main. And a little bit of combo main.
Yeah, maybe.
Right, what about your card?
All right, well, I have Twilight. I said there were 2 mains out of the 6 that kind of made me sit up and take notice. Fluttershy was one of them. Twilight was the other. After having done the math, I realized that this flip condition isn't actually that big of a deal. You don't have to warp your deck too much to be able to be confident that you'll be able to flip it over reasonably early. And this set involves several ways to kind of manage your hand, whether it be through discarding things. Bugle was the guy who showed me using Star Swirl Research just to get a card out of your hand early. I think that's actually really interesting and cool. Whether it be Picky Sense to get rid of something, there are definitely ways to manipulate your hand such that flipping this card over isn't that big of a deal. And then once she flips over, she's got an incredible amount of, whether it be looking at the top card of your deck, to kind of plan ahead. Basically, every deck appreciates the ability to have that discount, whether it be aggro, obviously. Like I said, I tried building purple aggro again, and I think it's got a chance again because there are so many cheap events now, and this card will make them even cheaper. And then control, of course, appreciates the ability to see what's coming, get discounts. You've got enough Meticulous to plan things out and get your discount on the card you actually want to play. I think she's got some real potential.
Yeah, that's fair. And especially with cards like Same Day Delivery, which make you have cards that manipulate your top deck. They also help you manipulate your top deck for Twilight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's true that in the purple control matchup, she's still going to have to fight with Tempest, who is a very good purple main for control. So it kind of remains to be seen who wins that fight. But certainly for other kinds of purple decks, she seems like a very fair contender.
Well, the thing with Tempest is that we now have more ways to deal with her. We have Fire Friendships, we have Lacking Lesson Plans, and in this new set, Pink also got Pinky Sense, which is a counter to Grubber in many ways. And it's very sad to play Grubber and stumble upon Fire Friendship, because not only you don't discard anything from their hand, they also get something out of it. Feels bad every time.
I mean, that was one of the things actually that watching the Continental stream I was surprised at most. So many times we saw a Tempest player on stream. It was usually playing Cheese's deck, but anyway, where me or Smithers would say, okay, well, here comes the grubber, and no, it was almost always mimics that came out early. So I feel like Purple is kind of already drifting towards to realizing that they usually have fire, friendship, and
yeah. And so I think like Twilight can really like contest with Tempest in here because of that reason, and also because not running Grubber means you can run something else.
This is true.
But we'll see. That's just like my little speculation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These lists, especially for me and such, these are all very much first impressions. And come 2 weeks from now when we do the review, these could very well change. Presumably they'll be at least close-ish, but I wouldn't be surprised if impressions change a little bit as we get more time to actually build decks and see how things work out.
Come a year from now, maybe one of us will raid School Shutdown.
That's a good point. Yeah, big whiff. Us all on School Shutdown last time around.
Yeah, and not only us, a lot of people actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pretty sure, like pretty much everyone at Sim also rated School Shutdown. Oh, not high enough. That is.
Well,
not low, not high enough.
Not the yeah. It was a card that went into almost.
You run it in every purple deck, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, that does round out our lists and round out our stream for this week. Unless you have anything else to say, Hithroc?
Nope.
Okay. So, as usual, if you want to see any of our past content, check out this one again, or know anyone who couldn't make our time, then feel free to direct them down to YouTube. We are Meticulous Talks on YouTube as well. The link is usually in our Reddit announcement posts, and yeah. Otherwise, 2 weeks from now, we've got the main event, the big review stream that I am not looking forward to, but whatever. Yeah. So we'll catch you then. Till then, I've been Cursedchords.
I mean Hithroc.
And we'll see you in a fortnight.
Bye.